Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Here with another video of Real Talk, where I give it to you straight. So this is a topic that's going to feel very counterintuitive for most people, especially if you're young. Especially if the world told you you have to be talented to succeed, because they told you, well, you're not good enough, so you have to meet X, Y, and Z goals, and then that's when society will accept you. Because what probably happened to you is that you probably worked a lot on yourself, and the more that you worked on yourself, the more hate that you got. And I want to tell you the truth about how most of the world works, and which is why, if you want to make your life really, really easy, just work with really, really, really rich people and really, really rich entities, right? Because they operate in a different, like, playing field or whatever, right? Like a different dimension. Okay, so the sad part is that the average person hates you when you're too good at what you do. You can see this a lot in workplaces, a lot in any sort of community centers, or family dynamics. You see it everywhere, right? And so when you're too good at what it is that you do, there's a certain element of jealousy that people have, because they didn't think you'd actually get there. So what they do initially in the beginning is try to tell you you're not good enough because you lack some sort of skill, talent, or ability. And then once you achieve goals and skills, and actually exceed at what it is that you're doing, then because they didn't expect that you would do that, that's when kind of like these sly comments come out, meant to kind of destroy your self-esteem. And at a given moment, I would say I have probably like 5 to 10 people trying to tell me I'm not good at what it is that I do, and that I need to get better. But I don't know about you, but I don't know if it gets any better than paying off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months. That was an excuse for me to use a buying boom sound effect. I'll probably get sick of it by the end of this week. But yes, I actually did do that. And so I noticed that most people, they're either silent, they're not impressed, they don't ask, like, how did you do it? Right. And sometimes I got to lie to other people too. Like, I met my landlord, my old landlord, from like 4 or 5 years ago, yesterday, because she said I had like a check in the mail that came to her house. And then she was asking me questions like, "Oh, did you get a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage?" And I just said 30. So how much is it? $900 a month. And she's like, "Whoa, that's a great mortgage." And I didn't tell her I paid it off and all that, because I just don't need that, right? Now, the reason I talk about this is because you probably thought, as a talented person, that the people around you would care. And then once you did what it is that you were set to do, you realize, wow, this is a very cold world, where people are just kind of, I don't know if there's a better way to say this, shitting on each other constantly, kind of like crabs in a bucket. And they don't help each other succeed, right? So I'm going to tell you, quick story. When I first started this YouTube channel, is that before I started this YouTube channel, I've been working with like very big enterprises, rich people, for a couple of years. And these were the first people in my life who told me I was awesome, I was the best. It was like, what? I've never heard this from other people before. And then I realized that working with rich people and rich enterprises is a very different dynamic than your average person, because the way that they think, okay, and the reason why, like, they have a different way of thinking is because they have a use it or lose it mentality when it comes to money, right? So if you ever dealt with big corporations or the government, they live in a different world with their budgets and money, is because they either have to spend that money or they lose it, and their budget gets reduced, which is not how the average person functions when it comes to their money. Right, ChatGPT knows this too. Where if you're a big corporation, a government agency, you have to use that money. There's no such thing as saving money. So these people have had experience with many, many people in the marketplace, much more than your average person, right? They say like the average person only buys 1 to 3 homes in their life, right? Like, whereas with the big corporation, they're probably doing thousands and thousands of transactions. Okay. So the reason I'm saying this is because when they talk to me, you know, they would just tell me, kiss my butt and tell me like I'm the best thing since sliced bread. And if you want to know where my confidence came from, it certainly wasn't dealing with average people because average people would tell me like I'm not good enough. I gotta, improve on this. Oh, you need to do this, and I'm like, yeah, right. And the reason why I say yeah, right is because if the biggest, enterprises on the planet who have a lot of money tell me I'm the best, I mean, it just whatever most people say will be 1 year out the other. And most people can tell that I do a really good job because I get emails all the time that I'm quote the best velocity banking teacher on the internet, right? People say I'm very, very clear. In fact, I actually posted an image and let's see if I can find it of YouTube where I talked about the difference between an amateur versus a professional. And I mean, I know I'm going on a sad side tangent here, but I really like the photo. In fact, let me pull it up right now. Give me 1 second. Let me do this. Okay. So, right, I know that when I watch other people teach velocity banking, it just becomes kind of like this, right? But when I teach it, people tell me, "Wow, it's so clear." But then the worst part is that even though I'm like the clearest, okay, a lot of people try to tell me I'm not that good, right? I remember when I first started this YouTube channel, okay, before I told anybody I have $739,000 in lines of credit or I paid off my house in 2 years and 9 months. People were trying to get on Zoom calls with me, trying to tell me I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, right? Like, well, you should do this, or another thing is like, oh, you know what? I admit I don't have money, but you tell me why I should work with you, or stupid shit like that. And I'm like, what? Like, do you want to be helped or not? Well, apparently not, because this is why poor people are poor because they do stupid shit like this, right? I'm sorry to kind of cuss. I don't normally do that, but it's 12:29 a.m., so I guess my filter is off because it's past midnight. But my point is this, okay? And this has been true for pretty much my entire life. People who don't have any skills, talent, or money are the most likely to criticize you, right? And people who do have lots of money, they're really easy to please. In fact, you could make an argument that if you deal with people who have a lot of money, like a lot of money, it's easier to please them, right? If you deal with someone who has $2 billion in the bank account and they spent $5,000 on you and you weren't that good, I was like, oh well. But then, like, if you deal with someone who's making $2,000 a month and they spend $500 on you, that's their entire life. In fact, that's the reason why the $500 client meme and the $50 client meme exists. And I don't know if you ever heard about that $500 client. I'm sorry, 50K client meme, right? And so if you don't know what this is, well, basically, I'll just show you right here. Okay, give me 1 second. But basically, this is the $500 client where it's like, I just feel as though if I with this investment I'm about to make in you, that we should understand how our lives are about to change. And I need results and I need to bring them, and I'm entrusting you with their livelihood and lives. And you know how I kind of know I made it? Because I had to just send some money a couple, like 2 weeks ago. And all I did was just said, money sent, thanks. And I didn't even care. If I lose that money, I'm like, whatever. Lesson learned, right? So I think that's how I kind of know I made it, even though it doesn't feel like it, right? So, but anyways, back to my point is that if you're dealing with average people and they sense that you're pretty good at what it is that you do, but they don't think you have the status, they're gonna try to poo all over you and tell you're not really that good. But I've been working with many people over the years, so I kind of have a sense of, oh, like if I talk to these people, they think whatever I say is incredibly excellent, and then when I talk to other people, which is the vast majority of people, everything I do is wrong, right? Everything I do is wrong, and this is before I told everybody like I paid off my house in 2 years and 9 months now, over $739,000 in lines of credit. So I didn't give them anything to judge me on other than ideas, but because I don't want to talk to most people anymore, um, I just kinda started hammering that in. So if you try to do that to me, then I will just kinda bring it up so that you don't waste my time, right? Alright. Well, that's it for today, folks. Freelance mentorship. I mean, it's true. When you're too good, people don't like you. right? This is why I say, like, talented people will have a much easier time dealing with rich people and rich institutions. In fact, let me just kind of end with the story like this. All right, there was a couple who told me that they didn't have any money, right? And again, if you don't have any money, it's not like a big deal to me, right? The thing that gets me is when you don't have money and you have entitlement, right? And they're like, "Well, can you explain to us why we should work with you?" And I was like kind of shocked because I'm just thinking about like helping people, right? Like if there's a housing crisis out there, maybe I can show you how to get real estate at a discount, right? Maybe send a couple hundred letters. I mean, what's easier to do? Say, get $100,000 discount or make $100,000. I think it's easier to get the $100,000 discount. And so I thought about that a lot, and I was kind of offended. Not gonna lie, I was really offended. And then there was another gentleman who I know who I met through like a Craigslist type ad, and, he'd been investing in real estate since the '90s, and he had, like, 5 commercial properties, and when I met him for the first time, he didn't ask any questions about my background. He didn't say, "What's your qualifications? How long you been doing this?" He just showed me a cell phone, $2,000,000, and, I barely even knew the dude, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'll lend it to you." I mean, you see, like, well, if you wanna go hard mode, deal with average people. If you wanna go easy mode, just deal with rich people. Like, it'll just make your life a lot easier. I'm not kidding about this. Like, people who are, not part of the vast majority of people, if you just kinda learn to deal with them, it'll make your life easier, right? A lot of people don't understand this, but then a lot of people don't have my experience either, so when I tell you, it's kinda like, if you weren't there, you probably don't believe me, kinda like if a tree gets chopped down and you weren't there to hear it, did it really fall down? I think that's the analogy, right? But yeah. Anyways, yeah, so basically, deal with people who don't live in the same reality and plane as the average person. Remember, like big corporations and government, what kind of world do they live in? They can't save money. They literally can't save money because if they do save money, the amount of money that they have available actually shrinks the next year, right? But for the average person, it's an alien concept, right? Saving money can be punished, right? So they literally do live in a different world. Actually, let me just read this out loud before we end for today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Cam. Big corporations and government agencies often operate under use it or lose it budget rules. If they don't spend all the money they've been allocated by the end of a fiscal year, their future budgets can be reduced since it looks like they didn't need that funding. So departments often rush to spend leftover funds on anything remotely justifiable: new software licenses, furniture upgrades, consulting contracts, etc., just to protect their budget for next year. For the average person, that's almost an alien concept. In everyday life, you save money, and that's good. It gives you security or flexibility later. But in bureaucratic or corporate budget structures, saving money can be punished because it signals inefficiency or a smaller need for funding. So, yeah, they really do live in a different world, one where incentives are flipped. The system rewards spending rather than prudence, which makes sense internally to maintain funding streams, but feels totally backwards to most individuals. Would you like me to explain how this budgeting mindset affects how corporations or governments make end of year decisions, like those big last minute spending sprees?
No, I'm good for now, but thanks for the explanation. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. Korean Lanta Mentorship here with another video. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.